The S27 Ultra will not have an S Pen. You heard me correct. The S27 Ultra is not coming, well, excuse me, it'll have an S Pen, but you're going to have to buy that separately and it will not be inserted into your phone. So Samsung made a claim or said they, and I mentioned this last week on one of my live streams. The executives at Samsung and or the Samsung mobile division really, really like the thin phones, right? Really like the thin. They love the Edge. I do too. I think it's phenomenal. It's thin, it's light, and you get a flagship experience unlike any other. Well, the executives at Samsung all love the thin, light features. Now, we all know the Ultra series is a big phone, right? It can't be that thin because it houses an S Pen. It takes up a lot of room in these phones. Samsung wants to thin down their flagship devices. Now, not on the Edge level, not Edge thin, meaning they're not all going to be as thin as the Edge. But if they can shave a millimeter off of each phone, they're doing it. In fact, they're planning on it. And that's why the S27 Ultra is not going to have an S Pen that you insert into the device. So the reason why they're doing this is because they're going to try and slim down these phones a little bit. And they're going to increase the battery size. So we've heard on the S26 series, they're not ready to make the move to a silicon carbon battery. But it looked like when we roll into the S27 series, they will be ready to implement a silicon carbon battery. And it's going to be humongous. It's probably going to be a 7,000 milliamp per hour battery, silicon carbon battery. Now, if you thin down your phone and you put an enormous battery in there, that takes up all the room for an S Pen. So what they're going to do is you can still use an S Pen on the phone. Does everybody remember the S21 Ultra? I used to love that phone. Do you remember how the S21 Ultra supported the S Pen? You would just have to buy it separately, and Samsung would make those Samsung exclusive cases that you could put the phone in it, like this case. You could put the S21 Ultra in there, and then it would have a little slot on the side of your S Pen. That's what they're going to do with the S27 Ultra. So it'll still support an S Pen. You just won't be able to stick it inside the phone. And then, a lot more people are probably going to lose their S Pen. I don't think I lost mine. I got lucky. Always kept it in that case, right? So it'll come with a whole set of accessories. And yeah, so they're going to slim it down and they're going to increase the battery. And there goes because look, the S Pen takes up a lot of room. Like, I don't know if people realize that, but look, it takes up a decent amount of room. Like, if anybody has opened up a phone, they are crammed. Like, they literally find every nook and cranny to shove stuff in and make this smaller. And every year they condense it a little smaller. Every year the CPUs get a little smaller and a little smaller. Well, guess what? The vibration motor every year it gets a little smaller and a little smaller. The speaker every year it gets a little smaller and a little smaller. The cable ribbons that connect the display get a little smaller and a little smaller. So you see where I'm getting at, right? That little silo in there that keeps your in is taking up a ton of room. And the only way for Samsung to slim this down, to put a bigger battery in there, is to get rid of this slot, and you can use an S Pen and just connect it to the side or keep it in your pocket. Do whatever you want to do with it. But the S27 Ultra will not have a silo to insert an S Pen. So how do y'all feel? I know there's some people that's going to hate it. There's some people that probably not necessarily okay with it. Kind of like me. I'm not okay with it, but I understand why they're doing it. They basically don't have a choice. If you want to get slimmer and you want to put an enormous battery in here, you're going to have to get rid of the S Pen, a silo, right? I understand it. It is what it is. I use my SPen quite a bit. I know there's a lot of people, I can't remember the number, the percentage, but there's a lot of people that don't even pull it out, that they just want to buy the very best Samsung phone and don't even really use the SPen. Now, I edit a lot of videos. I do thumbnails on my phones. So I actually use my SPen for editing and thumbnails and all sorts of shit. But how does that make you feel? You happy? You sad? Are you mad at Samsung? Is it a bummer? Let's see. You're talking about the satellite connectivity? Yes. That's what it's for, too. Angel says, well, if I were to upgrade to the S27 Ultra, the SPen would not be missed. Honestly, I never use it. See? Perfect example. And that's completely... there's periods where I may go a week or two without using it. But I use it quite a bit. When I used the S25 Edge, I did not miss the SPen. When I switched back to my S25 Ultra, I'm using the SPen again. So it's kind of like, if I have it, cool. If I don't, no big deal, right? But I like to have it there. But just having the functionality, because I was thinking, I remember using my S21 Ultra, and I was like, damn, was it a big bummer I couldn't insert it into my phone? But I was like, no, they had that case. I remember using that case where I could connect the SPen in there. So I think I'll be fine with it, honestly. I mean, as long as, but you know what's going to suck is they're going to charge an extra $50 for that SPen. You know, like it's not going to come with the phone. You're going to probably have to buy it from Samsung. But you can, if you have a Samsung tablet, you can use an older SPen from a Samsung tablet on your phone. You don't have to buy a brand new one from Samsung for $50, right? You could even buy, there's some used ones you can buy on eBay that will work with your S27 Ultra if it doesn't come with an SPen for $20, right? I think you can buy, are there third-party companies that sell SPens? I'm not sure. Let me go on Amazon and see. Amazon. I don't think they have their technology, they outsource their technology, meaning like I don't think there's third-party SPens. I think you have to have a Samsung branded SPen for it to work. Let's see. Samsung SPen. Galaxy S23, 24, 25 Ultra SPen replacement. Oh, $16. 2-pack. For $16. Damn, so $8 a pop. So you see what I'm saying? Okay, so an official S24 Ultra SPen, $40. But you can get them you can get two for $16. So it's not that big of a deal. Interesting. So they are interchangeable. So you can use an SPen that came with your Samsung Galaxy Tab S7. You can use that SPen on your S25 Ultra. They all use that same technology inside that pen where they all connect to your phone. You usually have to go into settings and connect it, but once you connect it through the settings, once you pair it with your phone, you can use it. I feel they're making a mistake, but let the numbers do the talking. Trust me, the quality would be questionable. I don't necessarily trust the... you're talking about the SPen? I mean, the third-party SPens? Yeah, I know, right? That's if you want to save a few extra bucks, right? Numbers do the talking, and trust me, Samsung is number crunching, right? With these big Fortune 500 companies, you know, that's all they do. They hire people that crunch numbers, literally, and they pay them a nice salary. And they run internal audits. They run internal forecasting as far as, hey, if we remove this SPen, what percentage? First of all, they know what percentage of users use their SPen, right? And how often they use it. And then they're going to look into, okay, so if we remove the SPen or it doesn't come with the S25 Ultra, or if it doesn't come with the S27 Ultra, what percentage of those users would be upset, and what percentage of those users would not purchase the phone? See what I'm saying? I'm sure they've done the numbers. And look, it's never perfect, right? I mean, they can forecast and predict as much as they want, but it's hard to pinpoint and guess a real, 11% won't buy the phone, but we could increase it by 6% by marketing in these different areas, so it's hard to predict the future, but you can make a good living doing data analysis with these companies. So should be interesting, man. My brother, damn, you always catch the very end. I got to run here. I got to go get my daughter a cake. Her birthday's and a Switch too. I got to go find one real quick. But catch the replay. I'm going to timestamp the very start of this show. So just to recap real quick, we reviewed the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7. The news that every Flip 7, no matter where you are in the world, if you buy a Flip 7, you're going to get the Samsung Exynos 2500. And I understand if users are a little cautious and are wary of jumping back into an Exynos CPU, but I did mention the fact that the previous flagship Samsung Exynos 2400 was actually a decent CPU. And I don't think people should be that worried. I think this 2500 looks to be pretty cool. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I know they don't have the best track record when it comes to CPUs, but I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They are all in. Like they've made a shift in their company, and they're pouring an enormous amount of resources into their chip manufacturing division. So if Samsung can't get this right, they're going to be screwed. So I'm going to give them benefit of the doubt. Now, time will tell, right? If this thing overheats, or if it's a badass CPU, if it's a really good performer, if it gets really good cell connectivity. They're putting the Exynos 5400 modem, the same modem that's in the Pixel, they're putting in here. So we reviewed the colors, we reviewed the CPU, and then we also reviewed, here's their 10-core CPU, Exynos 2500 with new GPU and satellite connectivity. We also mentioned the fact that Samsung is going to put Exynos CPUs in all S26 and S26 Pluses next year, and then split the Ultra, S26 Ultra. Some will have the Samsung Exynos 2600 CPU. Some will have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 2 CPU. And then we also talked about how in the S26 series, Samsung's going to bump up their RAM from 12 to 16 gigs of RAM. And then we just got done talking about the S27 Ultra is not going to come with an SPen and or an SPen silo. You're going to have a little slot. You're going to have to buy an SPen separately, and it will not insert into your phone because they are slimming down the phones and increasing the battery sizes. So